2-week-long safari through the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Now keep in mind that this is a real truck that I am really driving. The roads here can be really bumpy, so we do need to stay seated at all times with arms, hands, feet, and legs safely inside the truck, as well as anything else that you would rather not lose. Our first stop on our safari will be in the Little Aturi Forest of Northern Africa. Animals that live here in the forest depend on camouflage in order to stay hidden from any potential dangers. You never know who you'll find hiding out here in the trees, and they are all lifelong hide-and-seek champions. Over to the left-hand side of the truck as we enter the forest, we can see a greater kudu. They have very light tan-colored coats. You can also see bongos. Bongos have a darker reddish-brown color on their coats. They're also known as the ghosts of the forest. Over on the right-hand side, there's a kudu pretty close to the truck. A bit further away from us, though, is a okapi. The okapi has some black and white striped legs. Might even make you think of a zebra. However, they are the closest known relative of a giraffe. We know this because giraffes and okapis both have nearly identical skull structures, and they'll both use their prehensile tongues to pull leaves out of branches. The okapi is a very reclusive animal, actually thought to be a mythical creature until about 1901. That's when they were first discovered in the wild. Over on the left-hand side, we may spot a black rhinoceros hiding up against that rock wall there. There are only about 5,000 black rhinos left in all of Africa. There's another black rhinoceros here, just a little bit closer to the truck on the left.
This one right there, Kyle.
Rhinos don't have any natural predators in the wild. Unfortunately, their biggest threat is us humans, and that is especially because of poaching. Rhinos are very often poached for the horns on top of their head. One is thought to have a medicinal value. However, those horns are made of keratin, and keratin is the exact same material that's in our own hair and nails. And just before we exit the forest, over on the left-hand side, we can see saddle-billed storks. These storks get their name from a yellow marker on their bill. It happens to look like the seat of an English riding saddle, so that's how they get their name. If you look closely at their legs, the stork is kneeling down right now. Their legs are actually inverted, so their knees bend towards the back instead of towards the front. Now, all the animals that live in the forest, of course, depend on the trees for their habitat. It also creates their diet. They're all herbivores. So a lot of these animals are suffering from habitat loss, especially caused by deforestation. Luckily, though, we can help to protect these animals. One easy way is just by recycling our paper, or even switching to more eco-friendly alternatives whenever possible, such as bamboo products. Over on the right-hand side here, we're going to see a Nile hippopotamus. For my friends on the left-hand side, hopefully we'll get a pretty nice view up ahead as well. Now, as we look for hippos, make sure to look even underneath the surface of the water. Hippos can stay completely submerged for up to 8 minutes at a time. They're even known to walk or run along the bottom of the water. We can see a few more hippos over on the left-hand side here, just behind this island. Now, the hippo's head really is designed for aquatic life, with their eyes and ears at the top of their head, making it really easy to see what's going on above the water. Hippos can also hear underneath the surface of the water by listening through vibrations in their jawbone. These birds we see on the island, these are all pink-backed pelicans. They get their name because the skin on their back will actually turn pink, especially during their mating season, so it sometimes looks like they are blushing. You see a few more hippos here just at the base of this waterfall over on the left-hand side.
That's the bridge you get to walk across. You just came The animals that live in the Safi River, of course, depend on
the water for their habitat. Pelicans will eat fish out of the water for their diet as well. So we can certainly help to protect these animals by conserving our own water use. Easiest way is just to make sure that you are turning the faucet off when you're not using it. If you leave the faucet running the entire time you brush your teeth, that could be about 2 minutes that a lot of water is wasted down the drain. So that's probably the easiest way to help protect the animals we saw in the Safi River. Up ahead on the right-hand side is one of nature's biggest water conservers. This is a baobab tree. It's also known as the upside-down tree because it looks like their roots are in the air. The baobab tree actually stays leafless for about 9 months of the year, which helps it to conserve water. The tree actually stores water in its own trunk, very similar to a water tank. During times of drought on the savanna, animals can come up to the tree to get water from it, using their tusks or their horns to get into that tree trunk and at that very important water source. This gives the baobab tree another nickname, and that's the tree of life. Alright, as we enter onto the savanna, it looks like we're going to be greeted by some Maasai giraffes on the right-hand side of the truck. Maasai giraffes have a very squiggly pattern on their coat that helps to distinguish them from other types of giraffes, such as reticulated giraffes. They look like their spots are drawn with a ruler. Also on the right-hand side, lying down, we can see an Ankoli cattle. Those large U-shaped horns are actually used for thermoregulation. The horns are hollow on the inside. They have a honeycomb structure designed to let blood cool down as it circulates through the cattle's horns. By the time it gets back to the cattle, that blood's going to help keep the rest of the cattle a lot cooler. And just ahead on the left-hand side, we're going to be passing some sable antelope. Sable antelope have those very long, thin horns on top of their head. This antelope actually is the logo for the Harambe Wildlife Reserve because they are one of the bravest animals on the savanna. Although most animals will run away from danger, a sable antelope is actually known to duck their heads and charge towards it with those sharp horns leading the way. It's for this reason that we chose this antelope to be the logo for the reserve, because we certainly want to bravely and proudly charge forward in the name of conservation and protection of these animals. Just up ahead on the left-hand side, we're going to see another Ankoli cattle. Well, actually close enough, you might even notice their dewlap. A dewlap is a fold of skin underneath on the bottom of their neck. It's another way that they're able to cool down by letting blood cool down as it circulates through that part of their body as well. Also on the left, we can see lots of wildebeest as well. Wildebeest actually create humongous migration groups. There can be over 1 million wildebeest in a herd. They're second only to humans in the largest groups formed by mammals. Now the wildebeest can migrate over 1,000 miles across the entire continent of Africa. And sometimes the wildebeest can stampede, and when they stampede, there's so many of them in a group that they'll actually kick up enough dust that dust cloud can be visible from space. As the wildebeest are stampeding, it's also really great for the savanna ecosystem. They are trampling the dirt, helping it to turn that soil and encourage a fresh growth of that newer vegetation. You see the cattle's horns also make really good back scratchers. They'll also use those horns to move brush and lower vegetation aside as well. Now the name wildebeest actually comes from the Afrikaans word for wild beast. When Dutch settlers first came to Africa, they saw the wildebeest and thought they looked a little bit wild, a little bit beastly, and so the name has always stuck. I see a few more giraffes up ahead, it looks like, on the left-hand side. Now, giraffes are another keystone species of the savanna. They eat through the top of the tree canopy, which lets in more sunlight for that lower vegetation to grow. And as they're eating, they spend about 20 hours of their day eating. As they're eating all day, they're pollinating all of the plants as well. They'll always bring little pieces of each tree along with them. So they are another animal that certainly helps to support this vast ecosystem of the savanna. We are seeing a lot of fallen trees around this area. That's usually a pretty good sign we're heading towards some elephant territory. Also on the left-hand side, you may spot a mandrill or two. Mandrills are the largest monkey in all of Africa. They have some very brightly colored noses. They have blue and pink colors on them. As those mandrills get excited, that coloring can get even more vibrant. Just like us as humans, when we get excited, sometimes we'll blush. Also see the tail end of an African elephant over on the right-hand side there.
There he is.
You can see they're waving their ears. That's a pretty common way for elephants to cool down. They have a lot of blood vessels in their ears. When they wave their ears like that, it creates a nice breeze across that sensitive skin. It can actually cool down elephants by about 15 degrees. So they do have some very effective ear conditioning.
Over here, there he is.
So since we only see one elephant in this area, most likely that was a male elephant. Once male elephants reach maturity, they'll go off on their own. They can either live by themselves or with other males in a bachelor group until they find their own family group to start. Catch one more glimpse of the elephant as we cross this bridge here. Now, a lot of the animals we're seeing on the reserve are endangered, especially because of habitat loss. The biggest danger of habitat loss is that it will always push animals and humans closer together, and we don't make the best neighbors with these animals. Unfortunately, our behaviors and their behaviors can sometimes lead to some pretty unfortunate conflicts. Elephants in particular often migrate directly through farmers' fields. They can trample crops and even devastate a farmer's livelihood for the entire year in just a single night. So here at Animal Kingdom, we wanted to do something that would help to protect both the farmers and the elephants. So we partnered with Oxford University in a project called the Elephants and Bees Project. And with this project, we found that elephants are pretty afraid of bees. Not only will they entirely avoid the area if they can hear a beehive, but they'll also let each other know to do the same. So using this knowledge, we helped farmers to build beehive fences around their fields as a way to more naturally deter the elephants from walking through the area. Now the good news is this project worked with the noise of the bees, keeping the elephants away from the fields, and as an added bonus, the farmers even gained a new crop of honey. So that is a pretty big win for everyone involved. A very favorite part about this project, though, a lot of the elephants that live right here on the reserve also helped us out with the Elephants and Bees project. So we certainly are very thankful to them. Just up ahead on the left-hand side here, we're going to see a flamboyance of greater flamingos. You'll probably notice some pretty young flamingos in the group as well. They have gray and white feathers. They're not quite as tall as the adult flamingos just yet. Now when flamingos are born, they are born entirely gray. They look like a little fuzzball. And over the course of about 18 months, they'll get to the full pink color that you can see in the adult flamingos. Now, the greater flamingo is the largest of all flamingos. They're also the least pink. So for the adults that you see here, that is the most pink that they will ever be. They do have some very vibrant coloring, especially underneath their wings. You may have noticed the flamingos with their heads upside down in the water. Flamingos are filter feeders, very similar to a lot of other aquatic animals such as whales. So they'll eat by pulling water into their mouth and then filtering out anything that isn't food. But flamingos are always eating upside down, with their heads upside down in the water. So because of this, flamingos' beaks are actually built upside down as well. So most birds can only move the bottom half of their beak. Just like us as humans, we only move the bottom part of our jaw. However, flamingos' beaks only move the top half of their beak, since they're always using it upside down anyways. So make sure to keep those eyes open on the left-hand side there, friends. We may spot some cheetahs prowling around in the trees here. Cheetahs are really great hunters. They have excellent camouflage, and they are the fastest mammal in the entire world. They can go from 0 to 60 miles an hour in just about 3 seconds. So we can see a cheetah lying down here on the hillside on the left. Now, cheetahs only maintain their top speed for a few hundred yards. So they do typically rely on ambushing their prey when they are hunting, and they only have a success rate of about 50%. Now, cheetahs do typically hunt during the day. They have some built-in sunglasses in the form of a tear mark of black line that runs from the inner corner of their eye down their face to keep the sun out of their eyes. Over on the left-hand side here, you can see a male lion asleep on top of this rock. Now, this lion is actually a bit famous. He was the model for Simba in the live-action Lion King movie. So now you can all say that you saw a movie star today here at Animal Kingdom. Lions are usually pretty inactive for most of the day. They'll sleep anywhere from 16 to about 20 hours of the day. It's very common for them to wait until nighttime to go hunting. Their eyesight is actually 6 times stronger in the dark. During the day, it's about equal to the strength of our own eyesight. So there. One female lion on top of these rocks here as well. Now, when lions do go out to hunt, it's typically going to be the female lions hunting. Male lions are much more likely to stay back and protect the rest of their pride. These burrows over on the left-hand side were actually dug by warthogs. Warthogs are the largest burrowing land mammal. They usually dig those burrows with their tusks, and warthogs can actually back into their burrow and leave their tusks exposed out in front as a way to ward off any potential danger. And over on the right-hand side, we're also going to be passing some eggs. They were left by an ostrich. Now, ostriches are the largest bird in the entire world, standing up to 6 feet tall at their shoulder. So it makes sense that their eggs would be quite large as well. Each ostrich egg can weigh up to 3 pounds, and their shell is actually strong enough the average adult human male could stand on an ostrich egg without breaking it. Now, friends, as we cross this bridge here, we will be officially leaving the reserve. So, Asante Sana, thank you so much for joining me on the safari. I know 2 weeks can seem to just fly by sometimes. Now, before I get y'all back to the village, though, we're passing the warden's post up ahead. Matua has been taking on quite a few conservation efforts of her own, including raising Nigerian dwarf goats. These goats make for great dairy livestock, especially because they're smaller size. They're going to take up a lot less space than other dairy livestock like cows do. They're very fun, playful, and social goats as well. You can see that yellow triangular box hanging there. That's a beehive, just like the beehive fences that were built for the Elephants and Bees project. Now, friends, we've talked about lots of ways we can help to protect the animals that we saw on the reserve. They can help to protect the animals in the Ituri forest by limiting paper use or switching to more eco-friendly alternatives like bamboo, or even better reusable options whenever possible. We can help to protect the animals of the Sapi River by conserving our water use, making sure to turn that faucet off when we're not using it. And we can help to protect all of the animals across the savannah by recycling used electronics. An important component found in most electronics today is a mineral called coltan, and it is mined from a lot of the remaining habitats left here in Africa. Luckily though, that mineral can be reused again and again in electronics, and so by recycling our used devices, we can help to reduce the need for mining it from these habitats, and better to protect habitats all across the globe, especially in Africa. You can also help by supporting conservation efforts. There's a lot of conservation efforts happening all throughout the park. Make sure to keep those eyes open as you explore today. One effort that's park-wide is the Disney Conservation Fund. It is super easy to donate. When you find a souvenir in the park, they might ask if you'd like to round up your change for the fund. Just know that if you choose to do so, Disney will match your donation, and all donations will go directly to protecting endangered wildlife. Now, after you go home, I certainly encourage you to continue supporting your local conservation efforts. You could help out with neighborhood cleanups or even create a backyard ecosystem for your local animal friends. Conservation is a global issue, but if we all start with our own backyard, we should get a pretty good head start on things. Well, my friends, you have all been absolutely outstanding today. And in just a few moments, we'll be outstanding on the dock to your right. Now, after I drop you off, if you have any questions or if you want to tell me about your favorite animal, feel free to stop by the front of the truck. I'm always happy to chat. My name is Delaney and I'm from Wisconsin. If you haven't noticed already, my window is literally always open. Now in Harambe, we don't say goodbye, so instead I'll leave you with one more Swahili phrase, Kwaherini, which means to go well. On that